Good evening, and we are going to start our December 12th, 2018 Board of Education regular meeting. And we have a very special guest. Her name is Allie, and she is going to stand up and lead us in the pledge this evening. So, there's the microphone, and there's the flag. Are you ready? Okay. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you. And so we are going to go into our prouds and ask our student representative, Fanny, to come up and give us our prouds from Ossining High School.
Hi, so starting with academics, Sabrina Picarillos-Dosser was selected as one of the top neuroscience projects in the nation in the AAN Neuroscience Competition. So Ossining High School GSA debate chapter just came back from a successful fall state convention. Ossining High School and middle school student volunteers helped teach Claremont students how to code for their month of code. And Claremont just had their 6th annual science fair where young scientists were able to display their interest, knowledge, and discoveries in the field of science. In arts, OHS Symphony Orchestra is one of the 4 winners in the News 12 Sound of Seasons contest. And for the 2nd year in a row, Wesley Morrison, a Roosevelt Band student, was the youngest to perform out of 300 people at the annual Tuba Christmas at Rockefeller Center. And AMD Theater Arts concluded their production of The Wiz. For sports, so Fall Scholar Athlete Team GPAs were just revealed, with the top 3 going to girls cross country with a 97.2, girls tennis with a 95, and girls swimming with a 94.6. And then lastly, Kyla Harris was our latest Con Edison Scholar Athlete of the Week. That's the end.
Thank you. And I'll just add one more proud to that from AMD. So congratulations to AMD on a great production of The Wiz. And you're up.
All right, so we have a number of, clearly we had some prouds, but we actually have some students that we want to recognize here this evening. I want to start off with our 1,000 Books project. Mary Catherine Hillman, our director of our Teacher Center, is going to say a few words about, well, we all know who the student is. She had an opportunity to introduce it, but we're going to hear a little bit more about Allie and her accomplishments. So, Mary Catherine?
Hi, thanks for having me. On behalf of the Ossining Staff Development Center, I would like to welcome and congratulate our newest 1,000 book reader. She's 4 years old, and her name is Alexandria Kane. Everyone calls her Allie. So, Allie, if you'd please come and join me right here. All right. And so Dr. Seuss said, fill your house with lots of books in all the crannies and all the nooks. And I want to add, if you can't do that, why not go to the library and borrow some books? So the 1,000 Books project, right, is something that you did and you completed through the Ossining Public Library. And the Ossining Staff Development Center likes to welcome and congratulate students who've read and completed that project. So congratulations to you. Congratulations to your family. I'm sure you had a little bit of help. And I want to give you a book for your collection. And I want to give you a special t-shirt that says, I did it. And a very special certificate which recognizes you for your completion of the 1,000 Book project and for reading 1,000 books. So congratulations, and keep reading and learning.
I think I just made a new best friend. Congratulations, Allie. And we have one more student that we want to honor.
Yep. So this time, we have our superintendent from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES with us, Dr. Jim Ryan. We have one of our students that participates in some of the programs over at Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, and we want to take a moment to recognize his accomplishments while there. So, Dr. Ryan, welcome back to Ossining. Yep, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Ms. Mary, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to return to Ossining, and we're delighted to join you tonight for this Student of Distinction Award presentation. Before I comment on the students and bring up the principal of the Fox Meadow School as well as staff, I just want to make a couple of quick comments and just say how pleased and proud we are to be partners with the Ossining School District, and the work of Dr. Sanchez and his administrative team is really nothing short of phenomenal. And from Ali to Fanny right on through, you've got a span there of excellence here, and the Ossining Proud and the pride that exists here has always been strong, but no stronger than it is today. And that's thanks to Ray's leadership and the leadership of this team. It's a solid team. It's a team that is involved in a comprehensive offerings of high academics and student activities and co-curricular activities that are just so strong and sources of great pride for this community. So it's great to visit, and it's great to be back today. I want to bring up the principal of our school, and first in transition I want to say also thank you to the Ossining community for allowing Frank Schnecker to be a member of the Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES board. Frank is a solid board member. I know he is here for sure, but there's no better board member on our BOCES board, and Frank Schnecker really does epitomize excellence in school board leadership. And Frank, I just want to recognize that publicly tonight. Thank you so much for your contribution. If I could have the principal of Fox Meadow School, Nicole Genexi. Dr. Genexi is going to lead us in the presentation of our Student of Distinction here this evening, and it's really our pleasure to recognize Nazir Brown for his accomplishment at Fox Meadow. So I'll pass it to Nicole, and in the process I'm going to ask Frank and Dr. Sanchez to come forward to help us with the presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I would like Nazir Brown to come join me, because this is what it's all about, is you. And I would also like to bring up my lead teacher, Mike Colvin, and the counselor, Mr. Randy Hill, who have been so instrumental in the progress that Nazir Brown has made. So this is really about a team effort. You good? Okay. So, on behalf on all of us from Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES and Fox Meadow, we really thank the board and the administration, Maureen Hill, for bringing us Nazir, because he's been an amazing student to have with us. While we think all of our students are worthy of being recognized as student of distinction, tonight this honor truly belongs to you, Nazir. I'm especially pleased that Nazir is receiving this award because from the moment that he arrived on our campus, peers and staff and students, everybody alike have gravitated towards you because of your kind personality, your generosity, and your lighthearted sense of humor, right? So we sat together and we processed, and I said, you know, what do you think really happened when you came to Fox Meadow? What changed for you to be so successful? Because I look at him as a star student. I'm like, what happened? So I said to him, give me a quote. If you can give me one quote to kind of reflect on where you are and who you are today, like what happened? And he came back to me this morning, right? And he said, a good beginning makes a good end. And I said, wow. You know, Nazir, I couldn't agree with you anymore. And as you continue in this progressive path, because it's a wonderful path you're on, your possibilities in life are endless. Some of the greatest strengths is your ability to listen, reflect, and take the advice from everybody around, Mr. Colvin and Mr. Hill, and utilize that to build on things and progress like you've done at Fox Meadow. We are very proud of you, okay? Beyond belief. And I would like to invite Mr. Colvin to say a few words in great detail about your strengths. So thank you, everybody.
Hi. So when we were informed that Nazir is going to be receiving this recognition, we shot an email out and asked for some feedback from staff. So some of the words that we got, everything was overwhelmingly positive. But some of the adjectives people used were conscientious, hardworking, respectful, engaged learner, strong character, dedicated, cooperative, good sportsmanship, and friendly. So while all of these are unbelievably accurate, just a quick story I think will kind of summarize why we're here. So we first met Nazir toward the end of last school year, and he came to our campus with his mom, check out our program, and see if it was appropriate, if we're going to be a good fit for him, if he was going to be a good fit for us. Nazir walked into our meeting with his hood up, but his head down. And through the meeting, he was pretty quiet. He didn't say a whole lot. He responded to a couple of questions. And at the end, we all stood up and we extended our hands to shake. And he just kind of looked at us and said, "I don't shake hands." So we all kind of looked around and said, "We're not going to see this kid again." So a couple weeks later, we get a call, and he wants to come in for a visit. So we set it up, and he's going to come in for a full-day visit. And we arrive early. We're there waiting for him. And the Ossining bus rolls in, and Nazir gets off the bus and hoods up and heads down. And like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And about 2 hours later, he came to us. He said, "Listen, I'm really sorry. I just can't do this. I can't do this. I got to go home. But you know what? I'll see you in September." And we all looked around and we said, "We're not going to see this kid again." September rolls around, and off comes Nazir. Ossining bus rolls in. He strolls out, hood down, head up. And we said, "All right, let's see where this goes." So we weren't sure what to expect, but we spoke with him briefly, let him know which staff members to seek out. If there are any issues, let us know. Have a great day. We extended our hands, and what do you know, he shook them. So, okay, we'll see. So fast forward to today. The kid who wouldn't shake our hands at first is now fist bumping and high-fiving all over campus. The silent kid from last year is seeking out students and staff members to greet them in the morning. He's rolling off the bus saying, "Hey, how's it going? Everybody good?" Checking in with everybody. He's quick to offer peers positive, productive advice when there's an issue, and seeks out trusted adults when he has a question or concern. He's an advocate for not only himself, but other peers as well. He's a diligent worker who shows pride in his daily work. He's respectful of not only peers and staff, but the school environment and the culture as well. And in 4 short months, pretty unbelievably, he's rapidly ascended to being viewed as a school leader by all on our campus. So on behalf of the staff and the students of Fox Meadow, we'd like to congratulate Nazir for receiving the Student of Distinction Award tonight.
Nazir, congratulations. Thank you. We have a medallion and a little surprise for Nazir this evening, certificate of recognition, and that's going to be presented by Dr. Sanchez. And look forward to seeing you around. Congratulations. Thank you very much. The certificate will be presented by Mr. Schnecker.
Nazir, it gives me great pride to present this to you. If you don't mind, I'm going to read it. Student of Distinction, November 2018. This certificate is awarded to Nazir Brown in recognition for your outstanding leadership skills, academic progress, and community spirit. On behalf of the Superintendent of Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES, Dr. James Ryan, and the President of the Board, Mr. Richard Krebs, it gives me great honor to present this to you.
Thank you very much.
So I just want Nazir to pause for a minute to just look out into the audience and see how many people are really, really proud of you. And you have Ms. Buzang Hill, Ms. Cox is here. They're all here very, very proud to obviously recognize. And Mom, I should have left us some tissues over there. I noticed all the tears of joy. So congratulations, okay? We're very, very proud. Let's give them one more round of applause.
Thanks again for hosting us, and have a great holiday.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan.
your initial. So before we move into our work session, I need to move up 7.1, so I'll take a motion for 7.1.
So moved.
Second. Okay, so 7.1 is a resolution regarding professional staff tenure appointments. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We would like to congratulate our two new tenured teachers, Elizabeth Testa and Nicole Young.
So we have many outstanding educators in Ossining, and these two individuals are really outstanding, both serving in the secondary area, one at the middle school, one at the high school. Obviously, well, Ms. Testa is actually a Ossining High School graduate as well, so it's worth noting. And we just want to congratulate you. Obviously, from the time that we offered you the position to the time you've been with our students, you've done an exceptional job. Working and thinking about how we can best serve our students. So we're very, very thankful that you're part of our Ossining family. Congratulate you on your tenure, and we look forward to many, many years of service here in the Ossining School District. We're all very, very proud of you. So congratulations to both of you. You guys should meet if you haven't already. So congratulations to you both.
Congrats. And you're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of our board meeting, but we can give you a split second if you
celebrate.
want to. Yeah.
Time to celebrate, guys.
Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll turn it over to you to introduce. Or do you want? Do you want to do it?
All right, so we're going to move into our work session, and the board is aware, and some community members, we've tried to allocate some time at the beginning of our board meetings to have some program highlights, and this is truly a highlight at Ossining High School. When you walk through the early mornings, I can hear the music playing, and our pianos are moving. So that being said, and it's actually just perfect because later on we're going to be hearing it from proposed Ossining High School courses, and at some point this was one of the proposed courses. So it gives me great pride to invite Bradley Morrison, our Director of Cultural Arts, Sue Kafer and Neil Walker, our two outstanding piano teachers, to share a little bit about the program and what the experience of our students, what it is like when they are in our piano classes. Welcome.
So I just want to say thank you to Dr. Sanchez for inviting us. When Dr. Sanchez asked me about bringing a program to the board to present, it didn't take me long to decide that this was the one that we wanted to share with the board and with the community. We have so many outstanding arts programs in the district, but this one is very unique to Ossining, and it is something that doesn't always get as much glamour and glitz as some of our other programs, so I really wanted to do that. But the best people to talk about it are really our teachers, and so I'm really going to turn this over to them. And we're going to hear from Ms. Susan Kafer, who developed the program and instituted it, and it has grown so big and so great that we had needed to bring on someone else to help teach it as well. And so we have Mr. Walker with us as well, so I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you.
Well, I'm so pleased and I'm very appreciative of this opportunity to just share a little bit about this program. The piano class started sort of as an offshoot of Music in Our Lives almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago, I think, when I first came to Ossining High School, and it really took off. What I want to just say first is that there isn't any sort of typical piano student. Students have often started in the program with no experience at all in any musical study, applied musical study on an instrument, and some have some previous background. But what we do is we individualize the instruction for every individual student. So we're not all walking down the same path together and playing in tandem. And what has developed is, an environment for students to really work at their own pace and really connect in a very personal way with their own instruction and contribute to the direction that they go. Did you want to move through the slides? Okay.
Good night, I'm Neil Walker. I'm the new kid on the block. And I'm so happy to be working with Ms. Kafer.
Yeah, we have a good title.
We do. May I have the next slide, please? Oh, okay. So, as Ms. Kafer said, piano program started about 18 years ago. We do run the program. We do seek to promote social and emotional wellness among students. The piano room is room 105. It's right before you get to the cafeteria. So we see many students passing by. Most of them poke their heads in as well. Usually anyone can come in. We try to do a little bit of crowd control, right? We don't want Miss Morgan to get too crazy in the hallway. But, students hear the music, they will ask about it, they want to come and learn, and we are more than welcome to show them.
We encourage, we have
anytime
an
as we
open
can.
door, and the kids often come in and explore and share with each other what they're doing.
Although we use a textbook, the Alfred Adult All-in-One, we do cater to different kind of styles as well. YouTube is big, of course, so there are these YouTube videos that teaches them how to play as well. They're hip-hop, they're pop. We also incorporate that into the lesson as well. And every 2 to 3 weeks, there are performances in the class, in-class performances. Of course, it ranges from Piano 1 to Piano 2, SUNY Piano 1, SUNY Piano 2. You go through all 4 years if need be. If you need an arts credit, there's also other programs available, but for piano, we do Piano 1, Piano 2, SUNY Piano 1, SUNY Piano 2. If the student's schedule does not allow them to do SUNY Piano 2 in the morning, they can do SUNY Piano 2 during a Piano 1 class. So that's how we accommodate our numbers as well.
And right now, we're at 140 students enrolled in the program, so it's grown quite big. What's that?
What the difference is with applied piano? Just explain what I don't think people know.
Oh, okay. You can do a 4-year sequence if you wanted to take 4 years of piano. You can take regular high school credit Piano 1 and Piano 2. You also have the option to do SUNY through the East program at Westchester Community College. For a 3rd year, Westchester Community College offers what's called applied music. So if you have successfully completed SUNY Piano 1 and SUNY Piano 2, you could also do what would be the equivalent of like SUNY Piano 3. It's just identified as applied music. We also offer just through the high school independent study. If you've completed 2 years, you could do independent study piano for an additional 1 or 2 years beyond that if you wanted to continue the sequence.
Program consists of all level learners. Again, as Ms. Kafer said before, we modify it, we differentiate it. There is group work, there is individual work. Students do come with their headphones. If they don't have headphones, we give them headphones just to control the noise in the room.
They like the noise. They want to hear what they're doing.
And it's pure fulfillment and joy. And their friends pass by, they always stop by. And we have a good time in their periods 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
No,
and
no
9.
7.
No 7?
No.
So every
7 you
period,
get a break.
every period except period 7.
And then 8 and 9.
It rolls through the day. So these are this right here is Gregory. He's with the special ed program. He's using something called iconic notation. So even if you don't know,
To the mic.
I'm sorry. So even if you don't know how to read music, we start you with a number sequence. All right? And he's gotten through very well. He does very well. He comes on time. He likes to practice as well. The student on the other panel
Let me describe Diana. She's a student, first year this year, and she has spent a lot of her childhood self-taught at piano, and she's like a singer-songwriter. Doesn't read any music, but's got a really well-developed ear, and has sort of picked out a lot of chords and has written a lot of songs. So she was sharing with me one day, and I thought, because she wasn't really too motivated by the Alfred Level 1 all-in-one book, and I said, you know what, you probably would really take off with expanding your chord vocabulary. So I gave her some chord charts, and she took off with it, and she has written, in the course of a few weeks, several more songs that she shared and put in her lyrics to. So like we've been saying, to make it personal and really have the kids know that we appreciate their interest and value what their unique musical identity is in the class. So that's just like two examples of ways that we differentiate within the room.
Your student.
Oh. This is Brian Tuapanta, and he has been a student. He's only in his second year, no prior experience, and just works very, very hard, and often comes in during his off periods to practice as well. Whoops. Okay. Whoa. Brian, come back.
This is Mac.
This is Mac. Okay. So this is Mac.
Up to the mic.
Sorry. That's how I teach. I'm all over the room. This is Mac. He wears headphones, but I'm still able to teach him piano, again using some iconic notation, and I'm accompanying him with my left hand. So if Matt can get through my book of nursery rhymes, then soon he'll be playing with two hands by December. That is my goal for Matt.
And on May 29th at 7 o'clock, we will culminate with piano night, and students are highly encouraged to participate. Those students who are enrolled in the SUNY program are required to perform, so they have a little extra requirements for their college credit. But it really is a beautiful, more formal setting and presentation to showcase our kids in the program. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to, point out what you saw here, and Susan mentioned it, but it can't go without saying, in all of our music classes at the high school, we meet students where they're at, all of our art classes. And so one of the students you just saw performing is part of our exploratory music program, where all of our special education students are in regular music and art classes with their peers, and it's something that we're really proud of. And what we didn't show you was there are also kids who sit in those classes playing Chopin etudes and really amazingly high-level stuff. But it is a testament to our teachers in how well they work with all of our students and meeting them wherever they are. And we're just really proud of this program. So we hope that we can see you all in May at Piano Night. It's really something else.
I do have a question.
Yes,
You may have
oh,
questions.
absolutely.
So,
Sure.
Here you go.
I know that there's a correlation between children learning and playing music. So those who play music or really playing an instrument, or, you know, they really do better academically all around. And I mean, we've had this program for a long time. Have you seen that? Do you have like anything that you can measure where you would say this is definitely kind of helped some students who might not have been doing so well and then got involved?
I mean, Ms. Kafer, I'll let Ms. Kafer and Mr. Walker talk to maybe any individual students that they have. I will say that the social emotional connectedness that students have to the school, you see it. There are kids who will be in the piano classroom and there religiously, and it really brings them in. But I will say that that's not why we teach music and the arts, right? We teach music and the arts because music and the arts are valuable in and of themselves, and they're really great. But there are definitely correlations between academic success. And we just this morning, we had a student, TJ, who was in, you know, I was like, oh, he's in piano again and again.
Okay.
But I don't know if you have any particular stories.
I think that the discipline of applied music study is only going to create habits and reinforce the type of habits that are going to support any learning in any subject. And I also feel that you build your life on successful experiences. And I'll say that my colleague and I make sure that every kid in this room is successful because we meet them wherever they're at and they can build from that. So, you know, how it brain function-wise correlates, I have no idea. But I can't imagine that a positive experience expressing yourself artistically could do anything other than support learning anywhere else in the building.
Just to piggyback on one point, I have found that the way a student presents themselves, I can tell who has high scores in math and who does not. I go and I check the STAR data. I know student A, B, and C, just the way they play and they visualize the numbers and the bar measures and everything. I know that this student is usually good in math. Those who are not good in math, the music will help to propel those senses in the brain to recognize certain functions in class. So there is definitely a good correlation between learning music, reading music, and also your math scores. I have seen it.
And there is an increasing body of research that shows, you know, neuroscience, that brain research that shows that students studying instruments does increase brain functioning, executive functioning, cognitive functioning. So it's definitely there. We haven't done any formal studies in the schools, but here in Ossining, but it is definitely research-based that shows that. But like I said, we just, we're a bunch of artists here ourselves, right? And so the profound effect
Don't
that...
check my math.
I couldn't subtract 365 before, but what I think you'll find from all of our arts faculty here in the Ossining schools is people who are themselves very proficient artists, musicians, actors, and the passion that we have for the art form and the work itself is really, when we see that passion alive in our kids, that's really the end goal for us, is really seeing, you know, when we see a kid playing who couldn't read, whether it's a kid moving from iconic notation to number notation to reading actual sheet music, all of those progressions are for us really just joyful experiences in our profession.
And I've kind of had reason to come into the high school and, you know, just for meetings and stuff. And that's the thing I hear when I first walk in is just the music going. So it really does seem like a very lively place.
Yes,
So
it is.
who wouldn't want to be here, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't hurt that it's like 2 doors down from the cafeteria.
No.
So, yeah.
So I don't really have a question, but I just want to say thank you so much for this robust program and the open doors that you have for the students. When I was in high school, I would have, or at any point, ever thought I could just jump right into the classroom and start playing a piano. And I think it's amazing, and it's clear that our students are, playing a lot of music, and that's a big deal. So thank you for your dedication to our students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have this secret regret in life, and it's actually not learning the piano. And your class looks so fun that I sort of want to go in and join you guys. I think it's fantastic, and I was wondering if you have any opportunities for the piano students to collaborate with orchestra and band, or for the musicals, if you explore that at all.
Well,
Sometimes,
we
yeah.
have had student musicians perform with the musical, with our jazz band, and there has been. Do I have a place? There's 140 kids in the program, but we do have a lot of many students are band and orchestra students who wanted to bring they're already musically literate, but wanted to expand what they do and learn piano. Many chorus students also take piano, so there's a lot of crossover students within the programs to take advantage of it.
And we do find that many of our students who are looking to major in music in college, we encourage them to take piano, but the understanding of performing on piano, because you do perform multiple parts all at once when you're playing the piano, as opposed to, like, I'm a euphonium player. Euphonium players play one note at a time, right? And so our band and our orchestra students, when they are able to play in the piano class, it helps them also to understand different aspects of music theory and other functional aspects of music that they don't get in their experience with a single note instrument.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment. First of all, I just want everyone to know that that was some good teaching you saw on that short snippet of videos. And the stories that you shared in terms of just how you adapt instruction based on student interest, and was clearly emulated in this little snippet that you gave us, but gave us a real picture into what's happening in those classrooms. So I just want to thank you guys for being just the outstanding teachers that you are, but also just the great work you're doing with our students and for giving us that insight. I do have one question, because this is your time to share some things, right? So do you find, and this is just from a facilities perspective, that does the physical plant preclude you from doing things that you would otherwise want to do? Meaning, 105 was a space we put pianos into, but if you would like that space to better support piano and the course itself, what would you want to see in that space?
Probably a bigger space, some computer workstations. A bigger space, computer workstations, a better acoustic instrument.
Space is really
Space, yeah.
headroom.
Yeah. Also room for, to maybe reconfigure the pianos differently so they're not so rigid. Some maybe grouped together, some more individual, just to better support the different ways that the kids are working. A smart board would be great, with great speakers. Place to keep our materials. We have just like a desk with everything piled, and it's kind of messy and sloppy. That's partially my fault, because it gets sloppy. But yeah, a music room, one that's designed to make music and acoustically better.
Yeah.
Yeah. A grand piano, nice Steinway.
You've been thinking about this, it seems.
And you'll see, like in this picture here, you can note, like, the pianos are basically fit. That's the only way they fit, right? Like, we have 20 pianos in that room.
We got one right up against
And
that killer nuclear radiator that's just like spewing. And it's like, whoa, it's like a meltdown. So it's a little.
It's actually not good to have a piano near that, right? It kind of goes out of tune.
No, these are electric piano. But it's still not good for the electronics. Reality-wise, space is a big issue there.
Yeah, it's all
It's-
crowded.
We do, like Susan was saying, there is no option to move these around, really. This is how they fit. And so if Susan and Neil wanted to put clusters together for kids to be able to work together, that's not really an option in our current space.
Great. Thank you for that. And thank you for being here and
Oh,
for
no, I
sharing.
like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sticking with the high school.
Okay. So we're going to transition from a course that we offer to proposed courses that we'd like to offer. So with us here this evening is our high school principal, Mr. Stephen Hancock, and we have Ms. Kim Mauricio here also joining. Right now, we have some proposed courses that we, per the board's policy, need an okay, or we always use the term green light to move forward. We're very thankful for the board's support in the past in terms of what we've been able to offer our students, and we feel like we have a very rich or an array of offerings for our students based on interest, needs across Ossining High School. So tonight, after a lot of thought, we're here with Mr. Hancock, and obviously Ms. Mauricio is here as well, where they're here to present and share what we'd like to propose for the upcoming school year. So with that, Mr. Hancock.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So it's actually nice that that was kind of the introduction to course proposals tonight, because this is exactly the reason why Ossining High School is such a special place, is because of the courses that we offer and the experiences we offer our students. So that's a perfect segue into kind of what makes the magic here at the high school happen. And I also want to recognize Neil and Sue, who do a fantastic job every day with our kids, and for the leadership of Bradley Morrison here at the high school and working closely with me to continue to enhance the programs, some of which you're going to see here tonight. So I have to start off by kind of reminding everybody of, like, why do we do this, right? Like, Ossining High School, one of the things that we're known for many things: science, research, athletics, cultural arts, but what we're also known for is the array of course offerings that we offer here, our students, and the amount of electives courses that we have. And that's not, I don't sit in the room and create these. These are given to me by the dedicated staff here at the high school that say, hey, we want to do this. Or what do you think about this? Or, we don't have an experience like this, so can we do it? So all the proposals that come up are not my work. It's really the work of the teachers who sit with me as early as September and say, hey, I have an idea of a really cool course. What do you think? And we talk about it, we work through it and say, let's put it into action, and then I prepare for you in December to present, but it's really their voices and their work that are represented here tonight, and I want to recognize that. So we continue to enhance and deepen the education that we offer here and the course offerings that we offer across various disciplines. This year, as you're going to see, one of the focuses, originally we didn't necessarily set out for that, it kind of just happened, but a more multidisciplinary approach to new electives, so they kind of go across different disciplines, and you're going to see that theme throughout several of the courses here tonight. Also, a little different from last year is we also decided to look at our program to study guide for the last few years and just say, okay, what are some of the courses that we've offered over time, and what might be some good courses to reintroduce into the program again, and see if kind of they take off this upcoming school year. And really, these courses didn't just disappear just because they really just disappeared in regards to just student interest into these courses. But the ones that we're looking forward is, as talking to faculty, talking with different department heads, we felt like these would be specific courses that we'd like to attempt to open up again in order to see what the student interest will be like. And Ms. Kafer made reference to Music in Our Lives, which is a program that was established 20 years ago, but in conversations with Mr. Morrison, Mr. Walker, we felt like this was a good time to bring it back up again to see what other interests might be out there for students, because it's basically an introduction to the basics of music, and we're going to reintroduce it into our program to have students kind of just get a broader idea of what music is for, and then who knows what other programs from there may grow. So we're going to reintroduce that into our course catalog. We're also going to reintroduce the course of public art. That was derived from the beautiful mural out in the hallway. We had, a good amount of students that helped this summer. Joe Pimentel put that mural together, but that's a mural just that we did this summer, but if you walk through the world language on the third floor main building, if you walk through the English hallway on the second floor main building, there are murals there already, as well as right behind me up there, and downstairs in the new B wing. Those murals were created by this public arts course. There's also outside on the Route 9 side, there's a big saw that was created as well as a result of public arts, and I think other pieces are throughout Ossining as well. So we feel like this was a good time, now that we had that student interest again, that mural kind of that we did out there started to really spark some kids, and we said, you know what, let's give this course a shot again and see what interest we get from our students. An American Studies course, one of the things we recognize as a team, and something that I've kind of had several conversations with faculty about, is we offer a lot of SUNY, a lot of AP courses. I mean, you could leave Ossining High School, as you know, with an entire year's worth of college basically done. However, we also have our Regents courses that students take, and we wanted to offer also courses that are focused and in a more project-based design, like our American Studies, which again we've run before. And American Studies is basically U.S. history, but done in a more thematic way, where you're really diving deep into the themes that are related to the United States and what makes the United States the United States. So it is a credit-bearing course, but it doesn't end in any kind of Regents exam or anything like that. It's just for the passion of students that just want to study pure U.S. history. So that's the American Studies course. And then Spanish for our native speakers, to reintroduce that into our world language strand for students new to our country that we're welcoming to our country, who need to strengthen some of their skills in their own native language in Spanish. Under literacy and comprehension, we're going to reintroduce that into our strand to support those students as well. So again, these are courses that have been in our catalog before, but we feel that it's an appropriate time to present them once again and open them up for students to apply. So what are we looking at for new courses this year? So one of the things also you'll notice is that we're not introducing any necessarily new SUNY or AP type course. We're sticking with just strictly elective courses that are multidisciplinary. History through art, banking and the Federal Reserve, allied U.S. history, student help desk, media productions, and a partnership I'm very excited about, and hopefully it takes off, a foundations and elementary education course. And I'll talk a little bit more about that near the end. So history through art. It's a course for grades 9 through 12. I'm actually, one of the things I also looked at closely for our freshmen, there are some students, depending on their program, that still have opportunities to take, more than just the one elective that traditionally most freshmen would take. And we need to really look at what are some other courses we can introduce that as a freshman, you could take this course, as well. So history through art is one of those courses that we say could be a 9 through 12 course without any prerequisites. And it's exactly that, taking a look at at history from the lens of the arts. So for example, Paleolithic, Neolithic, looking at cave paintings. When you think about Africa and African history, looking at masks and body art. The Mesoamerican era, you're looking at medals and statues. Medieval art design, classical music, the Renaissance with paintings, statues, literature, 20th century, World War II, and war propaganda in general, jazz, fashion, pop music, hip hop. So looking at the study of history and what's going on in the time period and what art can tell us about that particular time period. So those are the broad areas that this particular course would cover. It is under the area of social studies. And at the end is for students, kind of the final culminating project, for students to create their own 21st century art, along with a description of why they were inspired to do it, what's the background around it, what some research they may have done about it, and what did they learn in the process in the class to create this artwork. So again, this is our history through the arts. Media production. This is in collaboration with Mr. Morrison and the Cultural Arts Department. This course is to provide a foundation in skills related to video and interactive media content. So using art to understand the time period. Lost track of my notes. One of the things that we realize and are introducing in this course is teachers have expressed to us that students really at times lack the basic just media production skills. So going back to the basics with this particular course, it also aligns with the new New York State art standards that are coming out, and it's that enumerate the media in the arts content in the curriculum. And part of this course, we hope that in the future we'll be able to use some of the videos that students create, not only here within our district and our schools, but also to be able to use it on the educational access channel as well. basics to information, to graphics and animation. Also completion of the course. If you remember last year, we introduced the vlogging course, and we felt that that was a little too specific and narrow as we learned this year. So this is kind of broadening those courses and giving students a much broader experience. Did I miss anything, Ms. Morrison? Okay, just making sure. Banking and the Federal Reserve. This one I'll say we left the course name as it is right now, but it is something I'm looking at a little differently with the teacher that proposed the course to me, only because for students it might seem a little too narrow of a focus, but really the Banking and the Federal Reserve course is to talk about banking, the history of banking, tools that are used by the Federal Reserve Bank, the open market and the committee meetings, economic structures, GDP, CPI, PPI, stock market, credit cards, savings accounts, and the US dollar compared to other countries. So it's really doing a deep dive into the banking here in the United States. It would be under social studies or business, so this credit could be awarded if a student looking for a business credit and or a social studies credit. But it's really for students who want to get a better understanding and background knowledge of just not our common economics course, which is a requirement for graduation, but really understanding the economics of the United States in comparison to other countries. Student help desk. Since I began here, and I think even prior to me starting here at the high school, we had been talking with our Director of Technology, Mr. Hanna, as well as with Dr. Ram, Mr. Morrison, but just in general about just a student help desk. You may be familiar with this concept from Bronxville Schools, who introduced this concept about 2 or 3 years ago. So we're looking to do one of our own, and if not, probably better than Bronxville does it. But it's really for students who are interested in learning the software and hardware that go behind some of the help desk items that our staff put in right now. So students being the ones to assist our technicians here in the building to learn that skill set, if that's what they're interested in, to fulfill some of these kind of tickets, as they call them, through the help desk throughout the district. But also not only just working on the technical part, but one of the things that even as adults as we learn technology is the how-to videos or the how-to guides. Students in the course, part of the course would be to create these how-to guides, these videos that would assist the adults as well. Right now, you should know, too, we're going to kind of do a little mini pilot of this in the winter, spring of 2019. I just met with Umar Sar and Kelly Dewey, who actually helped put this together, along with Mike Hanna. And we're going to pilot it as a kind of a club right now, just to see what the interest would be, see what students think about it, and start doing it in just a small way. But we expect that this definitely will take off, and these students might even be kind of who set the foundation for the course. But we think that it's a good time. Our students are super tech savvy. And I think teaching them these skills and kind of just thinking about where we are 21st century skill-wise, this will be good for those, for a set of students who is interested in pursuing this further than just high school. Because again, part of also the way we develop these courses is what are we preparing them for after this? Because it's the real world, it's real life, it's college, career, once they leave us, so what are the skills necessary that they need? And if they're looking to kind of, they have an interest in this, we want to make sure we provide it for them. Allied US. So we've, as you know, done a lot of talking about inclusive education, inclusive schools, and we're looking right now at our special education models. So this is kind of another step in that direction. So you also know we have a unified program here at the high school that's alive and well. Right now, Mrs. Castro, one of our new PE teachers, is doing that program. This is a similar concept, except instead of PE, we're looking at this for our
You need the student help desk.
all right, I talked about student help desk, and that's exactly what I needed. I don't know what happened.
Blue screen of death.
Dumping physical memory. Thread crucial to system and operation. Okay.
Smoke coming up from the...
Yeah, not going to touch anything. The lights will go down, I'll hit something that I don't want to hit. Okay, so I'm just going to continue just off of, okay. Where was I? So Allied U.S. history. It was in regards to unified. Yep. Here. So this Allied U.S. history course would be general education students supporting and assisting some of our students in our CALP and Life Skills program. So similar to how our Life Skills and CALP students go into Gen Ed Unified History class, and students in the Unified class sign up particularly to support these students, it's the same concept, but they're supporting them with U.S. history content. So these are students who have the desire, who have interest in U.S. history, and also an interest in helping their peers succeed in a U.S. history class. So this is the first kind of, outside of Unified, the first content area that we're trying this for. The teacher who proposes was super excited, and again, when we think about aligning our work with our district initiative of, inclusive schooling and what that could look like, having, a more integrated, inclusive model, this is the step in that direction as well. So we're very excited to see how this would play out in a content area where these students are welcomed into that classroom. Gen Ed peers work together to learn the U.S. history content. So that's the Allied U.S. History course. Then the other course that I'm not asking for a vote on tonight specifically, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background because we still have to finalize the logistics with WCC. So I call it Planning Ahead, is our Foundations of Elementary Education. So this is kind of the first venture, I would say, for us in this kind of realm. So very recently I had a conversation with WCC and members from that education department, and we're looking to run a Foundations of Elementary Education course. So the why behind it is, if you think about it, so we're in the field of education, we're preparing students for the future. There are obviously students here, as Ms. Testa, one of my phenomenal teachers who received tenure tonight, that are interested in education. So how can we basically grow our own? And I think that that's something very special in Ossining, not just from an alumni perspective, but even myself as I started working here, and now I'm an administrator. Like, we believe in growing our staff, our students. So this course would be in partnership with WCC, where students would take basically their first education course for elementary schools in particular. They haven't developed one yet for adolescents. So these are students that are potentially looking, this course would be for seniors, potentially looking to pursue the field of education. The course would be held at the WCC Extension Center here in Ossining by Arcadian. So it wouldn't be held here in the building, it would be held in WCC. A student's schedule, from a scheduling perspective, would take up 2 of their class periods because their course is about an hour and 15 minutes. But we would do it either a morning session or an afternoon session, so that it's either the first 2 periods of the day or the last 2 periods of the day where they go to the extension center, depending on. We're looking also at transportation, and we get students there and back to make sure that they have transportation to and from, so they don't have to walk. But in either case, it is them going there, attending a college level course. Just our students. That was one of the topics of is it other area schools? It would really just be for specifically Ossining students going through kind of their first college level education course, which is the first course that students pursuing education would go through. There will be some field work attached to that as well, and some kind of observations students may need to be able to do, but they would graduate with 3 credits towards, SUNY credits towards their, if they pursue education, and obviously we would also grant them high school credit as well. We've always had partnerships with plenty of colleges and universities. This is the first time that we're attempting a partnership that is specific to kind of going off-site and using, a fantastic resource here in the community, the Extension Center. But also, if you think about it, so we give them the foundations course, they enjoy it, they pursue education, as their career path, they go through the courses, they can do their field work here, we can hire them as interns, and then we would hope to hire them as full-time staff members. So it's kind of dialing that kind of all the way back to the roots of students who are interested in pursuing education. And for some, it may they dip their toe in and they're like, this is definitely not for me. Not, what I want to go to school for. So before they kind of go that extra step, they at least have a chance to change their trajectory if they realize it's not for me. Sometimes individuals say, this is what I want to do. Then they go to the classroom the first few times and they're like, nope, this is not what I want to do. So this kind of gives them a little taste of what education, would be like as well. So we're excited about this potential partnership, but I'll come back to you in the spring more formally once we, have a firm answer and kind of plan from WCC. But just recently, they emailed me again. They are in conversations. They want to make this work, so I'm pretty confident that we will be offering this course in our catalog next school year. One of the particulars of this, too, that Ms. Mauricio and I and the counseling staff have to make sure of is just what would this look like in a student's schedule. I want to make sure the students don't think it's anything less because it takes up 2 of their periods, that we're planning it in such a way that it's not like smack in the middle of a day, but that they could either begin their day there and end here, or they could end their day there coming from here, one or the other. And those are our courses for 2019-2020.
Thank you. Comments or?
Ray's been hearing this from me for, I guess, probably the 12th time. I like what I heard tonight, this media production course. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Sleepy Hollow High School, sitting in the bleachers, and Martin came along and set up his camera next to me and turned and said, "You want to do the play-by-play?" And I said, "No." It was an exciting game. It would have been great. But I said it'd be nice if we had a student doing our play-by-play. And it's been something that I've, had a hard time understanding since I got on the board. Why don't we have our students announcing our football games and our basketball games? We have high school athletes who are getting, it's just preparation for life. So it's just something that maybe we can work that into this media production. The last bullet talks about the Access channel and district-related videos. I'd love to have heard, I know Martin did a great job, I'd love to have heard a high school kid screaming as Ossining beat Sleepy Hollow with about a second and a half left, and the place went crazy. It would have been great to have high school kids doing that. So that's my comment about that. I think my question with this Foundations of Elementary Ed is, how does that tie in with today's students, tomorrow's teachers? Is it any relation to that? Is it just something for kids that are maybe thinking that they want to go that way, so they start there, go, yes, this is interesting to me, or no, I'm terrified, I'll never stand in front of a classroom, and then they move to today's students, tomorrow's teachers?
So it's not in conjunction with TSTT, today's students, tomorrow's teachers. It would be for students who are interested in pursuing, the field of education as kind of, the basic course. The course is being designed as what your first education course would look like at the college level, but they would do it in such a way also that it's more of a, let me test this out and see what happens. TSTT students have the opportunity to sign up for that starting as early as freshman year. This course is specifically geared towards seniors. Yeah, so we would still, continue to run the TSCT part. And then the other, just comment on what you said before, I agree with you. I mean, this is something that we talk about all the time, is how can we get more student voice in it? And I think this is the path, I'm hoping, and we're hoping that this is the path that maybe creates other courses too that are specific, or programs that are specific to having our students take more ownership of the videos, the announcements, everything that adults do now, even like the Booster Club, Mr. Hoffman's done a great job doing the Old Blast, but really having students own that, right? And having students do those reports and those announcements, having the pride for the school. So I agree with you with that.
Thank you.
So I'm very intrigued by the student help desk, because it sounds like you're going to be teaching them more than just, did you turn your computer off and back on before calling? Something that really sort of jumped out in my mind is it might be a great mechanism to have students working with new parents in the district to set up the parent portal. And then also, I am certain that there are peers of the students who would be taking that class that have issues with their laptops, their iPhones, everything else. And I'm unclear a little bit if that is an opportunity for other students to go in and seek help as well, or if it's just sort of geared towards, I guess, staff who would have issues.
So right now, the proposal just start with the building needs, right? Like staff needs that they would normally put in and they still would do that, put in the ticket into the help desk. and then the help desk technicians will go and address that ticket. So it's still that concept of the students working alongside them, but eventually we hope to grow that. So it's just, we're kind of starting small with a specific focus and then see where it goes from there. But a lot of the same skills that they're going to be learning to address some of our tech issues here are going to be similar tech issues that their friends have. I do like the parent portal idea and concept too, because a lot of our parents do need support with just how to navigate that, how to set it up and things, and that is, I think, something they might be able to do too, or do a video or something that also shows parents how to easily access it. So.
And then the Allied U.S. History, just the name of it, I thought it was going to be about the U.S.'s historical allies in U.S. history. What it actually was completely different than what that title jumped out at in my mind. I'm just throwing that out there. The banking and the Federal Reserve, I thought, you said you're working on the name, which I think is good because I think those are important banking concepts, and I do hope that students looking at that course actually come to understand how important some of those concepts are if they want to take out student loans, if they want to get a mortgage, the types of mortgages. All of that stuff that you don't really like to think about in high school that suddenly rears its head and slaps you in the face if you suddenly become 18 and you're a young adult. And I am probably less familiar with the high school course offerings than most of my fellow board members. I was just wondering if there is already in place a personal finance course or a money management course.
Yeah, we have that through
get
part. Our business program is pretty robust right now.
Great.
All of our classes are at capacity in our business program, so definitely we have personal finance and besides just the normal economics we have. And the course titles or names is something that we kind of wrestle with a bit because it's what the students see first. Like they don't read the description for it. It's always so. That's why I appreciate your feedback around the Allied, kind of where your mind may go first, because again, from a student perspective too, I just want to make sure that it's kind of jazzy enough to catch their attention to say, ooh, let me read a little bit more about what that is, So that's why even with the banking course, we don't want to make it so specific because it's really those key life skills, but also just if you're interested in going into business or anything like that, you're going to need to know this stuff, so.
So thank you for your presentation. I'm really excited that you're bringing back some courses, and sometimes I know from being at this board table that, and even being in the audience, that sometimes courses aren't, necessarily of interest, and it's great that you can bring them back. Not necessarily that they were not good courses, they just weren't, had interest. Are all these courses that you're proposing full-year courses or half-year courses?
They're all full years, yep.
Full-year courses, okay,
years.
great. And I also appreciate that you're weaving in project-based learning into many of these courses, because I think we might even find out with the Allied U.S. History class that, the students that are being supported, that prerequisite had to take the Regents and maybe have to take the Regents over, we're seeing project-based learning helping students to pass the required exit exams. So hopefully we'll see some improvement there, especially for our students that are maybe having difficulty passing.
Absolutely.
And very excited about the banking and the Federal Reserve course, and maybe we can teach the real marketplace something, because if you've looked at the markets lately, we can use a little help in how we're.
Absolutely, I think that's going to be very high interest too going into the next year, so I think it's going to be very timely too.
Yeah,
so.
Very timely.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for everybody's hard work in determining what's the next steps for courses. Thank you.
I love the course offerings. I think almost all of them, like the purpose is clear. I'd call it real life skills. And I think people critique today's curriculum in schools of how much this you can actually use. I mean, this is stuff that's incredibly tangible. I even look like art history. My college experience was as far from art as you could get, but I think the class I remember and got probably the most out of was art history 101. Like, it's a life skill that goes across, and the media is a great class. The whole list there is just good, tangible stuff. I'm glad you brought up the banking and Federal Reserve. I would not take that class if that was the title of the class.
Yes.
And I do think, right, I mean, you guys have figured out, you know, the description is, it's an econ class, you know, that's the stuff you learn in econ, but then there's the interest rate savings account, which is like personal finance, so there's some blend of.
There's a blend, right,
You'll figure out what to call it. I personally would.
Because it's a deeper dive into all those aspects that they just scratch the surface on in the personal finance and the econ, and that's why we can do a business or a social studies credit on that one. But like I said, I don't think the name is going to, right now, is what we're wrestling with to draw students into it.
So you'll figure that one out. And then just, you mentioned we didn't add any EP or SUNYs. Remind me, again, I'm just getting familiar with the high school catalog myself last 2 years, but I know like AP Stats was one that I learned was in the catalog but isn't offered every year. Is that
it's in
that
there.
wouldn't I know it's in the catalog, but I don't think we don't offer it every year. It's based on demand, and there's not always demand every year. So
the last 2 years we've had demand on it. The demand actually has gone up in the statistics course.
The
At
AP
least
statistics?
the AP statistics,
Okay.
yeah.
So that wouldn't, but a course like that wouldn't, on the courses we're seeking to offer, if it's on the catalog, it's already on the catalog. These are ones we're trying to add
Correct.
into the catalog
Yep.
that aren't there currently.
Correct. And then the ones that I mentioned at first, like the American Studies or the Native Speak, those used to be on the catalog
Okay.
that we're reintroducing again, not that they weren't good courses,
Right.
but just we feel like there's interest now again to reopen them again. So they'll be just put
Yeah.
right back where they were
Right.
before.
So something on the catalog currently, if it was low enrolled, you'd be coming back in May to say,
Yep.
it's low enrolled, we still want to hold it.
Right. Yep.
It's in, okay.
I just think it's great. The catalog is a living, breathing thing in this district. And I
Sure
think
is.
I really appreciate the efforts you put in to know the students, understand the pulse of things, and try to bring things to the table that are going to get them excited and interested about being in school. I think that's the biggest, one of the great things that we do. So I appreciate all the different offerings. I'd love to take most of them at the end of the day, but it's great news to hear about Ossining High School. So thank you for the time tonight you spent going
Yeah.
through it.
I always say I wish I had gone to a high school that offered so many electives, because that definitely is not my reality. And just what we offer here is tremendous. And again, I just get to represent and talk about it, but this is none of my brain work. This is all the staff here at the high school.
I think that also just shows that we have staff that's constantly thinking and keeping things fresh. So I certainly do appreciate that. I look at the student help desk and I was just like, wow, you know, that's an amazing class to offer, because that could really take students really, really far. There's so many things that go into doing that, and one of the things I know from my colleagues, that not only do they do the help desk, but we kind of have it split. I work for a software company, and the way we have it split is, you know, people who actually do the training, and then people who write up the procedures on that training to train the trainers. So this really encompasses a lot of, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of meat in here. Even though you only have like a few bullet points, you could
No,
probably
it's
have 100 in
definitely
there, right?
bigger than that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to kind of break with the board here. At the risk of sounding like a nerd, I absolutely love the banking and Federal Reserve. And it's just my Wall Street mind.
Right.
I live and breathe the Federal Reserve, the banking. I'm the nerd who watches the meetings and the jobs reports when they come out on Thursdays at 8 a.m. So I know all that stuff. This is a tremendous course. I mean, I don't care what you name. I like the name, but you can rename it. But I think this is extremely, extremely important. I think it's very important for our students to understand how the financial markets work. I think that people get a little intimidated because there are very, very many different types of assets that are traded in the financial markets, and some of them are really, really intricate. But everything at its basic form, I think, needs to be introduced to students, because there was one story that I read a few years ago about a single mom and her son wanted Nikes, and he just kept wanting these Nike sneakers. And his mom worked on Wall Street, and she said, why do you want these sneakers? And she kind of taught him all of this, how it works. And he decided that before he could get the sneakers, and she told him, you have to do some research on the company. Why do you want those sneakers? This kid at 11 years old, and this was a few years ago, got so into learning this that by the time he was 11 or 12, he had saved $40,000 towards his college education because he got so into, you know, understanding how banking works and how the markets work. And he had zero interest in this at all. And his mom just kind of taught him the basics, and he flew from there. And so the things that we think maybe banking in the Federal Reserve sounds boring, but we could change it to whatever you want. But this is a course that is, to me, very exciting to have here. And it's a very, very important course because regardless of what you do, you're working, you know, in something in the arts or you're doing something in social media or vlogging, you have to understand how this works because we're all affected by it. So I think that this is a tremendous course. So I'm excited by it. And I do sound like a nerd, but I don't care. I like that course. So.
And so it's going to appeal to students' interests, right? That's what we're looking for, passion.
Right.
So.
Exactly. And then, again, you know, some students may not think that they're interested in it. So I understand that you need to have that name to kind of catch
But once,
them.
and once students are in there, our hope is that they have that interest and that passion, and that's the hook.
Yep.
That's the draw.
That is the hook. But thank you very much for all
Thank
of
you.
that. And to the staff as well for, you know, again, just coming to you with all of these ideas. It just really shows that they have their finger on the pulse of the students and what's going on in the building. And so they have a really good idea of, you know, what are the courses that the students would really, really like. So we're very lucky to have that.
Yes,
so
we
thank
are.
you.
Okay, so first of all, wonderful presentation. And I echo what the board had shared in terms of the work that went into it. Thank everyone for their work. The staff, the leadership team, everyone for really thinking through. You simplified it, but we know how much it led up to these slides, or how much work it takes to get up to this point. So what we're asking from the board right now, and it sounds as if there's really an interest in supporting it, is just a green light so that Mr. Hancock and the team can go back and start proposing these to our students so that we can start building their schedules for the upcoming school year. So if
Do you have a green
just
light?
seeking a green light.
We got a green light?
A lot of green.
We got 6.
All right.
Thank you very
There
much.
you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone that's here.
you.
There's a question.
Yeah, so I was just going to say,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep.
I was going to
My
thank you,
apologies.
but
Yep,
you're going to
no
have
worries.
to stay there
I'm here.
because we're going to open it up to the audience members for questions. Come up to the mic, state your name, ask your question.
So, Beth Sniffen, parent. I'm here as a parent. So, in addition to these course proposals, my son is in American Sign Language. So, for right now, are we going to have American Sign Language? So now I think we have 3 and 4. Are they in the same class, or?
No, we have a 2-3.
2
We have
and
an American
3
Sign Language 1 and an American Sign Language 2-3.
Are in the same class?
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to maybe have another class so that they can, in this course proposal, can we maybe increase that? I'm asking the board that, I mean, American Sign Language has grown in this district tremendously. We have a fabulous, fabulous teacher, but she has been just stretched to the gills because she's just doing a fabulous, fabulous job with these students. They are doing such a great job. My Nolan loves sign language, loves to go to class, and it's a fabulous program. So I just would love to see in this proposal a course for that growing, the next thing going forward, and possibly another teacher, because I think that it's just a fabulous thing.
Thank you.
So let me just clarify two pieces, because here we're speaking about new courses that are going to be offered. So I think, if I hear you correctly, is just you're referencing potentially the need for additional sections of the courses that
Splitting
were
up
already
two-
offered. So it
two
wouldn't
great-
necessarily mean that we need approval from the board, but clearly in the budget process, it's something that we might want to consider, clearly looking at enrollment and then associated with the number of sections that we may offer is also the level of staffing that needs to support that. So, but I'm glad you brought it up. We're very, we've seen the American Sign Language program really grow. We've heard anecdotally and in speaking to students just how much they really like the course and learning second language, in this case, American Sign Language. So it's something that we can monitor during the budget process and see what it looks like. And part of it too is very similar, when it comes down to numbers in terms of how many sections and how many students will begin to really enroll, and that'll drive sections and then in turn how much staff we need. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Any further questions, or no, we're good? Okay.
Good job.
Okay, so we're going to move into our regular meeting, unless anyone has anything else to bring up before we do that? Okay. I will, what I'd like to do for this section 4, I would just like to separate just 4.1 and 4.3, so if I could take a motion for 4.2, 4.4, and 4.5. So 4.2 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the special meeting of November 7, 2018. 4.4 is a resolution to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 28, 2018. And 4.5 is a resolution to approve additional consultants for the 2018-19 school year. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so I will take a motion for 4.1.
So moved.
4.1 is a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding with Family to Family, Inc. And I'll open it up to discussion. I know there were a couple of questions, so if you could just, if you have any background, maybe
Yeah, sure.
that might.
So Family to Family is actually, Ms. Mauricio's here as
Yeah.
well. It's an organization, and actually they're working with the Dobbs Ferry School District, Hastings, where they partner basically individuals that want to help support some of our neediest families and providing them some said services, whether it's gift cards or others. So they work directly with our social workers to provide those said opportunities. So this is really, falls under that category of our work around equity and making sure that some of the foundational needs of our families, through our social workers who have identified families with great needs that potentially we can't serve or provide those services just as a school district, this outside organization would help us in finding said services / opportunities for them.
Okay. Are there any further questions?
You know what,
or if we
Kim,
can have Ms.
do you want
Mauricio?
to add anything about Family to Family a little bit that might
You can
clarify?
come right up to
Yeah.
this mic or up to here, whichever mic is you're more comfortable with.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Anytime. So Family to Family is an organization that acquires parents and families to adopt families in need. With our initial MOU, we would be engaging in a relationship with the Family to Family agency, which would stem right at Brookside. We chose that school as a pilot, and we would choose 10 of our neediest families. At this point, it's all confidential. They just ask the families that are adopted to give ages, female, male, how many children are in the family, and they either can choose a $35 gift card that will be donated every month to the family in need. And we would build a relationship right from Brookside and eventually expand the program throughout Ossining schools.
Okay. Any questions or?
It's of no cost to us.
Right.
So we are not paying any fee to engage in this relationship and build a partnership with Family to Family. So it's really a benefit for our families that are in need. Brookside, we felt, was a really good pilot school, so we could work out any of our kinks, any questions that we may have as we begin the program. And then our hope is to really expand it throughout our other schools in Ossining.
So the MOU really calls for, basically, as Mauricio says, it's a start and pilot, see how it goes. I know there's concerns likely around privacy and information that might be shared. We're very conscious of that. We always are. This was reviewed by our attorneys as well in terms of the agreement. We would not be giving anything that we didn't feel would compromise a family's privacy.
Correct. We do not have to share any specific family names, which would include the last name or anything around, exposing families.
And how do they get the gift cards? Are the social workers distributing them to the families, so they wouldn't be mailing them to their home?
No,
We
it's
would not
through the
be
social
sharing
worker.
any personal information. I would be working with Annalise, who is the social worker at Brookside, and all of the facilitation between Family to Family would go through Annalise and myself. So I would work with an individual linked with Family to Family. Annalise or myself would pick up the gift cards, and then we would disperse them to our families.
So I heard a lot of good things about this organization that started in Hastings, I believe. It was a
Correct.
parent, and they're doing really good work. So they're receiving donations, and they want to pay it forward, if you will, and figure out a way to get it to the neediest, or families, and partnering with schools and able to identify it, as opposed to coming up with their own metrics of how to help families that may need it. Okay.
And the reason they ask for how many members are in the family is because a lot of the families that adopt our families in Ossining or in other school districts, they like to provide other offerings. So during the holiday seasons, they like to make additional donations to the families, besides the $35 a month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, so all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I will take a motion for 4-3.
So, second.
4-3 is a resolution to approve a service agreement with In Class Today, Inc. Any discussion? I do have one question.
Sure.
But if you want to give background first.
Yeah,
and
so
I'll ask my
actually
question, so that makes sense.
It's perfect that the two individuals stayed a little bit later, because this has to do with our nudge letters concept. So the agreement, and I don't know if, Stephen, you want to share a little bit, and then I can certainly interject and share more.
So we're working with an organization, would like to work with an organization called In Class Today, that's specifically a more proactive approach to our attendance. One of the things that we continue to work on and strive for is to, improve our attendance here at Ossining High School. And instead of always reacting to it, I'm sure some of you may, be familiar with our DCA letter, which that's a whole other topic that we're also trying to delve into and kind of clean up a little bit. But these nudge letters would be specifically generated not by us, by the school, but we would provide the data to In Class Today, and they would create these letters where they students will receive at home, what their attendance is compared to what our average school attendance is, and to nationally what the average attendance is for a ninth grader in high school. And it would be we could do it for every student if we wanted, but right now we're going to focus on not the chronic absentee necessarily students, but the students that kind of are on the cusp in the middle that could cross over on that line to be chronic, to just proactively show them and their family, like, hey, this is where your child falls in regards to our high school average of attendance and where they fall in regards to national average, and kind of, going into why attendance is important. So doing the proactive letter and approach versus just you've already missed 14 days or 10 days or 12 days and you're you possibly could DCA the course. So we're trying to scale that back to a more proactive angle of saying, okay, before you get to that threshold, here's what your attendance looks like thus far, and we would do that 4 times a year. We'd like to, with your approval, be able to send out the first one in January. It's almost kind of mid-year. They're willing to start as early as January with us to send the first slew of letters out. And again, the benefit for us too is it's not another burden on our clerical staff here at the high school, which is phenomenal. It's really taken care of by this company. We provide them with the data that they would need, and then they would create the letters, send it out. But any questions that come up is directed to us. They're not going to be directed to somebody else. Like, they're directed to our school counseling office, my office, to talk about any concerns they have with that data. But one of the things, and this came out of Harvard article that Ray had shared with us over the summer for us to read during one of our retreats, and as soon as I read it, I'm like, how can we do this? Like, this is a no-brainer. Like, this is another piece of the puzzle for us to kind of implement here at the high school, that we can get, focus on attendance and maybe clean it up even more using this and the different ideas that were floating around in terms of attendance. So.
And just for reference for those that are watching, can you tell us what DCA is?
Sorry, DCA is denied credit because of attendance.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Questions?
So let me just add to this. The research is based on Todd Rogers. He's a behavioralist at Harvard University. His study actually shows, and in this case, that there's been 10% decrease or improvement in set attendance through this one particular strategy. We'd like to look at doing this in-house, but this time we don't, to Mr. Hancock's point, we don't feel like we have the capacity to do that and are ready to do that. The other side to it is that we feel there's a sense of urgency to address attendance, as there always is, but even more specifically here at the high school. And so the theory behind it is, or the philosophy and the research is very clear, and this would fall in that category of slightly of a pilot to some extent, see how it works. It's not a long-term commitment for us to see if it really lifts and starts changing student behavior.
I assume if we know the subs that we're mailing to, it'll be relatively easy to track the effectiveness?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And we also we also hope to eventually bring it back in-house, but at least to just get started, get going, this was the, right thing to request at this time.
There's a lot going on in the area of technology in terms of what they're trying to lift, so to ask that department, and so this is affiliated with Todd Rogers and his work.
Yep.
So we thought this would be a good partnership for us to start and know that it's going to be done right too.
I guess that kind of answers one of the question I had, which was, why wouldn't we do here like Infinite Campus?
Yeah.
So it seems like we don't have the capacity uplift to do that, so this would bring us to there. And just another question about the kind of agreement. It mentions third party. Do we get copies of those third party agreements that ICT is contracting to? And also, obviously, just want to make sure that we say that our council has reviewed the
Council has reviewed it. I don't have specific answer to that first question that you asked.
Okay.
Just a question on the data set. So we're deciding, I guess, kind of whose information is getting sent off to them at the end of the day. I mean, I could see some situations where somebody might get this letter and have circumstances, and this might push them over the edge for, like, you know, getting a comparison when they have really good reasons behind it. So I assume we're going to be kind of looking at this closely, and I think I would just not want to create a bad taste in someone's mouth for a situation that's clearly understandable, but yet they may not, it doesn't make sense for them to see themselves lined up against the national average, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That's an important piece for us, and we get to obviously see the data before we send it to them to be able to take out any students that we know, you know, medical reasons, et cetera, that don't need to get the letter. And that's why even just in general, in-house, we're continuing to work on making sure that we're coding things in our Infinite Campus system appropriately, so that when we go to pull data, it is truly the students that we need to send this letter to.
So, kind of echo what Mr. Schnecker has said in terms of, you know, this technology driving and, you know, identifying students that are chronically absent and without context. And I feel in a way, and I understand the need to start with the nudge letters and how that might help. I have serious concerns because I feel like we're reversing what our goal is, and that is to have support, social workers, psychologists, really reaching out to families and seeing what's going on and why they're absent. And I'm just not comfortable right now with this process. I feel like I need to understand it better, and I've spent a lot of time reading about it, and I'm not sure from my perspective that this is something that we should be devoting resources to.
So let me respond, and I understand the concerns and appreciate you sharing. I think, number one, we do have a practice here of sending letters to students. So they do go out. This is a different form of letter. We think it's particularly probably more effective for us in terms of addressing that, one. Two is that not all DCA letters or letters go out to every child without a story. You know, we've talked often about the single story. There's a lot of discussions about who should get letters and not get letters. And I think in a similar way, that's what we're requesting here. Stephen, you know, not every child gets a DCA letter or a letter that goes out because there's an understanding and because our staff know the kids. Yet the flip side to that is that there are students that we know are chronically absent, and that needs to be addressed. Our current system needs improvement. Be very frank and open about that in terms of what the letters are that are generated, the tone of those letters. There's a lot to it that we're trying to soften and actually be very proactive and sensitive to the receiver in this case, and yet also send out, you know, an important message that your attendance matters. And the last piece I want to share is that this is a holistic approach nonetheless, that we understand that there are stories behind, and I've alluded to that before, but that beyond just letters, if it were that simple, letters would go out every day, right? That's, but there are other structures within the high school, within our counseling department that really work to deepen and understand what's going on with children. And if there's a story, I'll let Mr. Hancock speak to it directly, is they likely will not be getting letters just generated. It's not, you know, just an arbitrary, I just don't want it to be perceived as the computer picks names, the computer sends the name, sends it out. That's not what we're referencing here, but I just want to make sure that perception is clear and not misconstrued.
Yeah, just to comment on just a couple of things. This is only a small piece of a bigger puzzle that we've been trying to address here at the high school in terms of cleaning up the attendance. You know, as I referenced earlier, even as, you know, going into Infinite Campus and making sure that we're coding things appropriately so that it's not just, you know, cuts or absences or legal absences, that we're really coding. If kids go on a field trip, that should be a specific indication, because for me, a student that's not showing up to school at all is a very different case than a student who is coming to school but is just missing social studies, right? So we've really been working this here very diligently under the leadership of LaToya Langley to really put a specific emphasis on attendance and cleaning that up. reallocating some resources within the building and responsibilities in order to put that emphasis where it needs to be. So this kind of nudge letter is more of a proactive one-piece approach, but I know that in the future I'll be coming to you to kind of discuss overall what is kind of the new attendance, protocol policy for the high school. This is just a small portion that we're trying to get ahead of, but in reality, the whole system itself needed some revamping, some rethought, and that's what we've been working on putting together, getting input from staff, and that's something even from their perspective that they've, been wanting to look for us to look at, and it's something that, I've been working very closely with Dr. Amon as well as my team, just putting that together to present to you more formally to say, hey, this is our plan. This was just a piece of the plan that I didn't want to wait until that time. I wanted to get ahead and say, you know what, here we are mid-year, and if we have an opportunity to be proactive in this sense, to do it. We currently do send out the DCA letters at the end of every quarter, generically to students who, have already met that threshold. We also send one when they're about to meet that threshold. But for me, that's more of a, negative type letter to receive than one that's trying to just highlight the fact that, okay, this is where your attendance is, this is where it is according to the high school, then according to kind of national norm, just so you have a visual, very easy visual to see. Also, the individual single stories, like our counseling department, our social workers, we're not stopping what we currently do. I mean, we have a fantastic clinical team here. Right? This school would not be able to operate without them. I mean, just the other day, I personally went on a home visit with one of our counselors to a student that I've been working with because she wasn't coming to school, right? So we're not stopping those. Ms. Mauricio actually was going on one today as well. Like, we've actually, even from our lens, have been doing some of that work too alongside our clinicians, just to show that we're serious about coming to school. And those personal touches, because I'm very big on kind of the personal touch and getting to know the students and the stories, are not going to go away. This is just to ensure that we're giving, a perspective to the families ahead of time of this is, what we're going to do, but it's not going to stop our social workers or counselors from reaching out to families individually.
Right, and I appreciate that, and you said it, you had not shared the entire approach, and maybe I'm looking at this as a piece.
Yep.
And that's why it's hard for me, and I've read it and I had my questions and I'm here today, but I'm still trying, I guess, without seeing the whole picture and the whole plan to address attendance. I think this piece for me, I don't see how, I'm trying to, see how it fits in, and making sure that all the other pieces are in place. And I know that our guidance counselors and social workers, and we have the advisory now in the middle school, and I guess I wasn't ready to, I'm not yet seeing how it fits in the whole picture yet. And I know I read the research, and I think it's great that they've had success with it, and I really would be happy to see us have more success with it. I just,
no, that's fair.
wasn't sure how
Absolutely.
it could fit
That's
into
fair.
the whole picture.
Yep.
If I could just summarize something, maybe, or put it in context, let me know if I got this right. So in this agreement would be effective, today if we went forward with it. It would expire on June 30th, 2019. This, to me, really seems like, in conjunction with the other things that we're doing right now, our own IT department, for lack of a better term, our own technology department, doesn't have the capacity to do this. So this kind of gives us that short-term, as I said before, capacity uplift to get us started with what we need to do in conjunction with the things that we're already doing. Is that like a fair assessment?
So that's accurate. So,
Okay.
it follows category of as an explore more than an exploit, meaning that we're not going to go system-wide with anything just yet. We want to see measure its effectiveness.
That's why we're intentional in just doing it.
It truly is just that, whether we want to use the term a pilot or an explore, to see if it does yield anything in the big picture. Mr. Hancock and the team have been really working hard around this area of attendance and creating systems around it. Dr. Alm's been involved in discussing a lot of people, and it's something that we need to address here at the high school.
Yeah.
It's system-wide, but it's certainly an area we're looking at. So this would be one of those pieces. It would end. If we saw success, we're actually going to use some of our title funds on this, so it's going to be some grant funds that are going to be allocated towards using this or supporting this. And I'd love to come back to you and say we have to come back and, this is that really yielded some things. Like we're really starting to notice some things, and it's even so. There's a lot of other variables, you know, through a research lens that we're going to have to consider because, you know, is it discretely just the letters? Is it discrete? Is it the letter plus, you know, relationships that were created? There's a lot of things that may contribute to improved attendance is my point. And so we just have to sift through that a little bit ourselves because that's my own, like I would say, and I've spoken to Todd Rogers, that's my only question in this is that, you know, yeah, you saw a 10% increase enrollment, or attendance, but is it, how do you distinguish and say it's just the letters, or is it other factors and variables? So if it was so easy about doing letters, you would see letters again every day coming out. Life and education is not that simple. There's other pieces to that, including relationships that we need to build, highly engaging classrooms and high interest courses for our students. All those contribute to students wanting to be here. This is just a really a small piece of a larger puzzle that I know this team I can attest to it. You know, we can share more of it. There hasn't been a big reveal because it's really starting to, there's been a lot of iterations around attendance and trying to improve structures here at the high school and systems associated with that as well.
And just to get everybody comfortable, council has reviewed this agreement. We do understand, and I know that people have questions about data and how it's transmitted and the data points. Council does feel comfortable with that, and it does seem that this company has to be FERPA, you know, compliant, so. Yeah.
So just on record, for all of us, we take any agreements, we take those very, very seriously. We look at them very, very carefully. And we go through a lot of iterations. There's an agreement that we'd love to have had here presented but it's just going back and forth between, and it could be a really potentially good thing, but our attorneys are pausing on that, and I speak to it at a later time, but we only present things that have been reviewed and that we feel comfortable enough and have been edited from both sides.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, a couple thoughts. One, you know, we've been working on attendance for 3-4 years in a lot of detail that we've been approached. I think, I know you're talking about like a comprehensive reveal and plan. I'm not sure personally that's the way it's gonna work. I think this is a moving target that, you know, these guys may come back to us in a month or 3 months or 6 months and say, here's our current updated thinking in a presentation, but I think it's a moving target that's not going to be like, you know, we figured it out. Like, we're going to have to keep trying to figure it out. And what I'm hearing is this is, you know, in our, I don't want to call it a crisis, but in our, you know, very serious work on attendance, this is another bullet to use. I shouldn't say bullet in the school sense, but and I think
it's a tool in the toolbox.
It's a tool in the toolbox, and it seems like you're asking for it now because if you do it now, we get the benefit of learning for the second half of the year. Is it effective or not? Yeah. I think what wasn't said, if anyone's listening, what was real for me was this sort of Con Ed analogy to this letter, which I know I get every month, my little email or letter from Con Ed saying I'm, you know, 70% effective. I look at it and in my own head, quickly I run through, well, you know, I've got 2 kids that are on iPhones and like, I can rationalize why I'm different than the average, but the average in my head, like it's real. Now we've talked about in the DCA thing, like I'm still not convinced that, you know, having a DCA, I think having a DCA target for someone like me gives me something to say, you know, my kid can't have more than X absences. If you get rid of a number and it's a vague thing, I have nothing to react to. So I didn't do the research, but conceptually it makes sense that some parents will react positively, some people will toss it in the mail. But I guess, you know, my take is you're asking for help to try and make some more progress on the issue.
And just a final question. Sorry, did you?
No, go ahead.
Just with the letters, there will be at the end of the letter, there's a go-to person that they somebody that the parent may
Here, yep,
recognize.
correct. It's
Call
not.
kinda
Not in class.
Yeah, no, we're not,
Day
no, we're not
100.
yeah, we're not, and we have the opportunity.
Call center.
Yeah, we have the opportunity to personalize that. Believe it or not, there's schools that leave it to call them, and then they call the school, and our, proposal was absolutely not. We wanted the call to come right directly to us, but they give schools that option.
Just for the sake of adding something, I'm that parent who I still remember Andrew had a terrible asthma attack and was in the hospital after he stopped breathing. And this had been going on for weeks with lots of missed absences. And then no sooner did we come home from the hospital than we had a letter saying, your child has been absent, and, chronic absenteeism, how the letters go. And I did kind of do this big, heavy, deep sigh. So I do think that there are going to be cases where, the school had no idea that was going on. There are going to be some cases where something like that is going on. But it sounds to me like even that kind of situation is an outlier, that we do have these letters in some form already. That this is very thoughtful in why it is believed to be an effective approach, and it's not taking the place of something. And then I think it seems to me like the idea is to intervene before the number of absences become so insurmountable, and to kind of interject in a meaningful way before it's almost too late. And that's certainly something that I can support as part of a multifaceted approach to this whole issue.
I also just want, because I think we've made it a lot bigger than, we're looking at attendance and creating some structure. It's not like you're going to have a five slide or 10 slide presentation on attendance. Stephen and the team, Brian's been involved. We're just looking at how do we structure our staff better to support, be more, address the need immediately with
more
our
systematic.
students, holding children more accountable and when potentially they're not in class. So there's a lot of discussions around it, because I feel like we're giving you a picture that it's like this huge universal shift. There's just some tightening up is really what we're looking at. It's probably the better term.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
want to
your
just thank you for clarifying that. I think it was
Thank you
really
for the
important
questions.
that we had these questions answered and had this discussion. I think it was very, very meaningful. So if no further discussion, I will say, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. I will take a motion for 5-1.
So moved.
Second.
5-1 is a resolution to accept recommended placements. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Ely? I will take a motion for 6-1 through 6-6.
So moved.
6-1 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for the Ossining Staff Development Center. 6-2 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for the ETS testing services for OHS. 6-3 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for SUNY Oneonta Earth Science registration. 6-4 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget for lost textbooks. 6-5 is a resolution regarding an increase in budget send a kid to camp. And 6-6 is a resolution regarding interfund transfers. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I'll take a motion for 7-2 through 7-10.
So moved.
Second.
7-2 is a resolution regarding support staff termination. 7-3 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointment. 7-4 is a resolution regarding civil service staff appointment. 7-5 is a resolution regarding support staff appointment. 7-6 is a resolution regarding bus attendant appointments. 7-7 is a resolution regarding professional staff appointments for before and after school programs. 7-8 is a resolution regarding support staff appointments for before and after school programs. 7-9 is a resolution regarding per diem substitute appointments. And 7-10 is a resolution regarding approval of school volunteers. And the board would like to thank Ms. Jennifer Ward, who is a non-parent student teacher at OHS. for volunteering her time at OHS. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, anyone from the audience who would like to come up to the mic, ask a question on any of the items discussed this evening? Any further board discussion? Updates, liaisons? One question I do have, actually, is, and Ely, correct me if I'm wrong, the National School Boards Association does have their annual meeting in Pittsburgh? Philadelphia? Okay. So we have one board member, Lisa Rudley, who has shown interest in going. I think we do have a budget for 2. So if anyone else is interested, please let Ely know. There is a cutoff because we do have early bird registration, so we want to make sure we get that discount. So when do we need to let you know by? Before the end of the month? Okay. So, you know, if no one else is interested, I will throw my name in the hat, but certainly that's just, you know, just to get a second registration, to get that discount. So just let Ely know before the end of the month. Any further updates or discussion? All right, you guys are like going back and forth.
Greg,
Who's going to talk?
I'm kind of leaning towards Greg to share our coffee chat.
Okay.
I'll start. Lisa wrote the summary, so I'll start the verbal. We had our second coffee talk. We sat there for an hour by ourselves, having a good conversation, and then people started to show up. So we had one person coming out of yoga who was very happy about the conversation on the driveway. She had kids who graduated, but she won't benefit. But I think she actually said she thought the driveway was in the original bond, and was one piece taken out, maybe not in the same format, but I hadn't forgotten that piece if that was correct. And then we had 2 people, we hit lots of topics, but I think it was, Catherine versus the one we did, I think it was fewer people, definitely fewer people, but a bazillion people. We were there for, 3 hours, covering an insane number of topics that went all over the place. I think, I guess, the one that I would share, which is a tough nut to crack, is Quantel Blazemore from the Village was there. He wasn't there, for the most part, to talk about Village stuff, but we kind of got into that, and it's sort of that dilemma of boards, like, we had to preface everything where I can't speak for the board, and he would say, well, I can't speak for the board, and but it was like good conversation that you could have organically when you're in small groups that are hard to have when you have whole boards together. And as long as you all understand it's just yourselves talking and it's not anything official, it was, some good face-to-face, not through email, not watching other people's meetings kind of conversations that didn't touch, he was kind of saying we're going to get into comprehensive planning on the Village side. That's one of their goals for this year. Said, hey, school, you probably have some insight and sense of who our community is that we could benefit from. Yeah. I was like, we call Ray, but like we probably do. I don't know what, we have to figure out what we can summarize and how it's summarized, but it's just all that working together. Trying to think, there's other.
I think I'm just always amazed of just all the great ideas that continue to come out from the community, things that we thought about or want to do, or things that they, that would just continue to make things even stronger. And one of the topics we were talking about was parent engagement, and how do we get, everybody involved. And I know Quantel shared some programs that he's involved in Peekskill, and really great ideas, and the other community member also shared some great ideas. So we'll go into more detail, but again, just sharing other things that they're seeing from their other experiences that we might have not thought about or just haven't been able to implement. It's really important.
Yeah. We got into an interesting conversation, kind of the equity theme of one parent had a science research student, and the other person was kind of looking out for a child who was in kindergarten, And it was kind of that question of what can I do? Not that the kindergartner is like destined for science research, and you know at kindergarten that's their path, but it was sort of how do I make sure that I get an equitable path and that my child gets all the right supports and resources to be able to reach, whether it's science research or whatever the thing is for that child when they get to the high school. So we kind of, there's no answer to that, but we just talked through things that schools are doing and parents can do, and so talked a lot.
Sounded like a good time. And that was
Yeah.
at the library, right?
Yeah, it was at the library.
It's
So
a nice-
hopefully we'll
it's
be
a nice
doing more of
space,
them.
right? People, they see you there. Well, what are you guys doing here? Well, we're eating donuts.
Get the
and-
table, got the
A
donuts.
couple of munchkins and some coffee, and you couldn't believe the conversations that can happen. So it's good. We hope to do, I'm looking forward to doing more, and thank you, Lisa and Catherine, for reactivating the coffee chats. Maybe tea next time. Okay.
Any further updates or? Okay.
Those two things. Number one, you have shirts in front of you for a reason, because we anticipate keeping you warm. But we're having our formal MBK kickoff tomorrow. Not that, we've had our students involved, both at the middle school, high school, and even at MBK 5 from our middle school, our 5th grade students are participating. So there'll be food, there'll be some remarks, and we're just going to be there for our young men of color, and really try to create our movement. There's a lot of community members that have helped secure food for us and do some other work, and we're thankful for that. So we invite the board and the community to come. It's the middle school starting at 6 p.m. And this is the last board meeting of the 2018 year, so just want to wish everyone a happy holiday, and to
Yes.
everyone that's watching on camera as well. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Thank you. And I think we meet here next January 23rd.
3rd or 24th.
I'll have to get back to you on that, but I believe it's the middle of January or towards the end of January, I believe, after our Martin Luther King Day celebration. So we'll be back, same bad time, same bad channel.
Yep.
Okay, I will take a motion to adjourn and enter into exec.
So moved. Second.
We're adjourned. Happy holidays.